Welcome to my parlor. Welcome, traveler, to the Hidden Corner Finds. I am Joanne, and this is my humble store. Pull up a chair, stay a while, make yourself at home. What? Oh, you want to know what I'm selling? Everything and anything. In short, I have a passion for Ugh, why did it just bleep me? All I said was I have a passion for picking, I said. Yeesh. You can't say anything on YouTube these days without this censorship. Anyways, as I was saying, I have a passion for picking. For me, there is nothing more satisfying than finding a unique and forgotten item and uniting it with someone who will really appreciate it for years to come. Whether it's a soapstone carving, an old book, or simply a mug to make you laugh, I try and find something for everyone. My goal is to make you a confident buyer. Older items often have a lifetime of stories to tell. I strive to describe the good as well as the bumps and bruises they've experienced along the way. It's important that the pictures reflect what you will receive. To that end, I always encourage questions and will do my best to respond as quick as possible. Appreciate you stopping by the store. If you can't find what you're looking for, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm always looking for new ideas and will keep an eye out for your item in my travels.
God damn it! Honey, what the f happened to my action figure collection?
Whoops, gotta go. Bye.
Well, hello and welcome back to Figurine Friday with Johnny Tiger on June 20, 2025. I'll admit, when I first started recording this, it was meant to be Toys Thursday, but I ran out of time, so we are publishing this on a Friday instead. Um, we are going to be looking at a dinosaur, but not this dinosaur. This is just here to open the show for us. This is a Mattel T-Rex. I can't remember what's a Fight and Chomp or Thrash and Roar or which T-Rex this was. It makes a lot of noise anyway. I just actually replaced the battery on this thing yesterday. Yeah, I love terrorizing the cat with this. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, today we are going to look at another dinosaur dude. In fact, from the same line as the Bloodblade, the T-Rex King, we looked at. Oh, got to go back maybe last year. Got to be the end of last year. I still remember doing that review. It was a little bit traumatizing. It's a good figure, but it had a lot of things that would fall off, and it's really difficult to handle. Unfortunately, the one we are going to look at today, Large Roof, the tribe leader of the Ceratosaurus. How do you even say that? Ceratosaurus? Maybe someone who knows their dinosaurs can tell me how are you supposed to say it? I always say a Ceratosaurus, but I'm not quite sure if that is the right way to say this. Uh, it's not a dinosaur that I was honestly familiar with. It's some kind of medium-sized carnivore, kind of, I guess, similar to Carnotaurus in a way. Um, it, like I said, it's not a dinosaur I was familiar with when I was growing up. So, like usually when you say T-Rex, I have a good idea what it looks like. You say Spinosaurus, I know what it looks like. You say Raptor, you say Carnotaurus, you say Stegosaurus, I know what it looks like. But Ceratosaurus is one of those that kind of doesn't immediately conjure up an image in my head. But anyway, we are here today to look at the figure from AxyToys Dinosaur Battlefield. Ceratosaurus tribe leader named Large Roof. Why is he called Large Roof? Well, it's a stupid name, and honestly, it's probably due to some weird translation quirk because the bio was originally all written in Mandarin and then they ran it through some weird translation, maybe Google Translate or something. It's really poorly written. So it got the name translated to large roof, while the original name was really more like uh, big head or uh, tall head or something like that. Like it's not much better, but it sounds a lot better in Mandarin. Trust me. Anyway, before we look at the figure, let's look at the box and packaging stuff. Now, I unboxed this when I picked it up in when I was visiting Kitten in California. So you guys will notice that the unboxing photos will be in a different location and don't have the same lighting and stuff like that. But anyway, here's those old unboxing photos, and then we'll come back and talk about Large Roof himself. Like other Dinosaur Battlefield figures, this one came in a rather large window box with a sleeve around it. The box has graphics and images of other dinosaurs and this dinosaur on it for you to look at. On the back is a rather poorly written bio. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Inside the box, you get this dinosaur figure, which is quite good size. Tail, extra hands, weapons, and bags of what seems to be 100 little knickknacks. You know how when they say watch out for tiny parts for choking hazard? Well, this one is a choking hazard. There's so many of these little trophies and bones and stuff. Took me almost an hour to put him together. It's really a little intimidating and annoying. And here we are with a large roof himself. Quite a intricate looking dinosaur dude. Now you guys will notice that unlike Bloodblade, I did not strip him naked. Mostly because I'm not quite sure how the waist armor and leg armor was supposed to come off. I assume that you would have to heat the figure up and then pull him apart at the waist and then pull the leg off to get those things removed. But it's a $100 figure. I don't feel like risking breaking it just to prove a point. So the upper body armor is all removable. The lower body armor look like they should be removable if you want to try it. But for now, I'm just going to leave them be. But yeah, we got the upper body armor off, and that's good enough for me. So let's talk about who is Large Roof exactly. Well, in AxyToys Dinosaur Battlefield world, the world is split up into not good versus evil exactly, but carnivores versus vegetarians. Herbivores. Okay, fine. Carnivores versus herbivores. So far, if we can infer from the bio printed on Bloodblade, the T-Rex King, it looked like the maker of the toys trying to hint that maybe the carnivores are the good guys. And I'm okay with that. I always find vegetarian people just slightly obnoxious, or self-righteous and all that stuff. I love a good prime rib and good barbecue, so I'm all for carnivores being the good guys for once. Although, technically speaking, uh, I think our perspective is a little bit skewed because the first dinosaurs released have all been carnivores. So we kind of have been introduced to the world from the carnivores point of view first. So I feel that it doesn't really specifically say the carnivores were the good guys. It said the carnivores were kind of like fighting back against the oppression of the herbivore empires and stuff like that. But I think you can kind of read whatever you want from that. I choose to not think of it as good guy versus bad guys. I just think of it as herbivores versus carnivores. So anyway, in the carnivore world, there's a T-Rex clan. They basically rule. They're the highest command. and then they're supported by smaller carnivores like Ceratosaurus and carnivores. Um, the Ceratosaurus tribe is known for their very balanced style of fighting. They utilize their shield phalanx to make sure that they don't suffer a lot of casualties in battle. I mean, that kind of makes a lot of sense to me, right? Like, the whole point is to kill other people while staying alive yourself. Uh, so, anyway, the Ceratosaurus, lead by large roof, is known for that. They usually have the lowest casualty in any combat because they are so good at using their shield formation. Now, why is he called large roof? Well, because in the Ceratosaurus tribe, your valor, your prestige, is directly related to how big the head ornamentation is. And if you look at the head of this guy, huh, he's got quite a large blade sticking out the top of his head, right? Like, I think that's basically how he got the name Large Roof. It's just to talk about how big his head ornament is. Uh, Again, sounds a lot better in Mandarin than English. So during the last war, the Snow Plain War, uh, when the carnivores and the herbivores went head to head, the large roof and his Ceratosaurus people or dinosaurs were able to defend the Bloodblade, their king, the T-Rex king, while the king killed the king of the herbivores, the Triceratops king. EBS? I can't remember how to pronounce that. CBS? Something like that. If you go back to my Bloodblade review, you'll see that the Bloodblade is actually wearing a T-Rex skull as his helmet, and supposedly that came from the Triceratops king that he killed in the last battle, and he was able to do that because the Ceratosaurus defended him with their shield formation and trapped the Triceratops king and isolating him from his people so Bloodblade could kill him. Right? So, needless to say, this large roof is quite an important character in the story. And the story, the bio, kind of leaves us on a bit of a cliffhanger uh, by telling us now there's another battle brewing. So the Ceratosaurus tribe is going to be called forth to do battle alongside their king again. So yeah, that's basically very basic storyline, nothing complicated. Uh, it's just there for the toy. So uh, for me, this is the kind of figure that you can do whatever you want with, right? Like this is a big, scaly dinosaur dude with really cool armor, a lot of muscles, and a lot of spikes and weapons. Uh, he's pretty versatile. You can use him to display with a whole lot of other stuff. Look how he's petting the T Rex on the head. That's kind of funny. Um, this guy is cool. I would say like the most of the dinosaur battlefield guys is cool, but very intimidating. And I'm not talking about the way he looks. I'm talking about the way he handles, the way to put him together. You see, in the dinosaur battlefield, they do something that both cool and annoying at the same time. All the little spikes and bones and stuff on his armor. Okay, I'll just use his leg armor here. I'll bring him closer. Excuse the hand. I know some people get really annoyed with the hand in the shot. Uh, so look at this spike on the leg armor. This all come off. Okay, when you get this guy, when you get this in the box, this second one, this one come off. two, okay, this thing, yeah, all these spikes they come off. Okay, when you get this guy in the package, all these are inside a baggie. What feels like hundreds of them. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's definitely more than 30 of them. Okay, and you got to plug these things in yourself, and there's no real instruction anywhere. So you just basically do whatever you want, whatever makes sense. And these things are so small that I'm not even kidding you when I said that it took me almost an hour to put him together. And then my thumb and forefinger were like trembling. Like I was pinching these so much, trying to install them. Like my hand was literally jittering. By the end of it, I was having muscle spasm. It was ridiculous. And I was sitting there thinking, oh wow, I'm getting muscle spasm from putting together a toy. This is ridiculous. Okay. Like I mentioned, all his armor, at least I think all of it, supposed to come off of him. Um, you'll have to fiddle around and maybe heat him up to get the leg armor and the torso, the waist armor off. Another thing that's really cool with this character is there's a lot of materials on him. Like I said, this is a $90, $100 figure. So that's to be expected. But here on the belt, on loincloth, for example, this piece here under the belt, this is fur. Like this is soft, fake fur stuff. And then turning him around. By the way, I stripped down for this part of the review because when he's all geared up, he's really hard to move. Things fall off too easily. These things that hang on his belt, all these were separate too. They are bones and feathers and whatever. And these chains, they are like metal. They're like real metal chain. So you got some plastic, you got some rubber material, you got some fake fur, you got some real metal chain. He also comes with a wired cape that you guys going to see in the next little slideshow. Um, I don't have the cape near me because after I finished taking the photos, I actually gave the cape to another figure uh, because I actually prefer this guy without his cape. Also, let me quickly do this little cautionary thing before I dress him up to full combat regalia. Um, these, this is one of his. Oh, see what I mean? Like these things fall off so easily that you have to be careful how you handle this. And this is one of his shoulder pauldrons, right? And these things peg into his back. Let me look for it. Uh, with this little peg. Hmm? This little peg. I don't know what possessed them to make the peg separate from the shoulder pauldron. Right? It's weird that they did that. And this is a cautionary tale. Okay, while I was setting up for the photo and taking everything off and setting things aside, one of the pegs for one of his shoulder pauldron rolled off the table and promptly went missing. And I was thinking, oh crap, now I'm going to have a large roof without one shoulder pauldron because without the peg, you can't install the shoulder pauldron. Luckily, I found this this little screw that's actually exactly the same size as that peg, uh, and that allowed the outer pauldron to still go on and hold securely. I mean, from the back, he may look a little bit weird. I'm not quite sure if even noticeable. You guys can tell me when I install those. But before we do that, let's look at some posing photos and playing dress up with this guy, with my commentating on the side, and then we'll be right back to talk a little bit more about large roof. Now, like the previous Dinosaur Battlefield figures, this one comes with removable armor. But unlike Bloodblade the T-Rex, this one's armor is just slip-on. You don't get the cool leather and actual buckles at work and stuff like that. This one's like more basic. Um, at least I assume all the armor is removable. I am able to strip his upper body bare, but I can't figure out how to remove his waist armor and the greaves on his leg. I'm assuming you have to somehow detach the torso or legs to get those to work, but I'm too nervous about breaking the figure. Unfortunately, when you have armors on him, even though he looks pretty impressive, he's really rather frustrating to pose. Not just that the armors get in the way, but all those little knickknacks and spikes and trophies you put on him, they threaten to fall off at any time, and you have to scramble around on the floor looking for them. It's really quite annoying. I wish they would just glue some of these in. Speaking of glue, the most WTF part of this figure is when you realize that his helmet and his neck armor require double-sided tape for them to stay on. Whoa, $100 figure and we need double-sided tape? What the hell? And we're back. Here's a back view of the fully kitted out, fully dressed large roof, minus the cape. Like I said, I gave the cape to another figure already, and I don't really feel like messing with it to get it off the other figure and get it on this figure. Also, when we do size comparison, you guys will notice that I am not doing a size comparison with Bloodblade the T-Rex King, because because Bloodblade is so big that I have him all the way at the back of the display. So to get him out, I would have to clear everything out from in front of him. And also, I said this many times, and I'm going to say this again and again. I don't like handling these dinosaur battlefields, guys. Like, just to put it in perspective, just now, when I went to put this guy together, put his armor on to get him in the full geared out mode, it took almost 10 minutes. Okay, and this is me already familiar with where things go. It's so frustrating. Like in my language, in the Taiwanese language, there's a term called lili lala, and what it means is when something is so loosey goosey and there's so many moving parts that things tend to fall off and wobble and get out of alignment as soon as you shake it. And this guy and the other figures of the dinosaur battlefield, they are exactly that, lili lala. Like I'm just going to see, I'm just barely touching it, and things are wobbling, things are like ready to fall off. All these accoutrements on his armor, every one of them is going to fall off when you mishandle it. Like just now when I was putting him together, when I get the left pauldron on, the right pauldron falls off. When I get the right pauldron back on, the spikes on the left pauldron falls off. And then when I get the shield in his hand, and the spikes on the uh, bracers fall off. Oh, it's just crazy. Like putting together these guys, honestly, like it's more like you just put it together, put it on the shelf, don't touch it ever again. It's so annoying. I honestly wish they would just either glue these in or skip them altogether. I know, um, in theory, on book, it's a good idea because if you buy multiples of these, then you can have different looking armor. You can have one that's asymmetrical. You can have one that have no spikes, and you have one that's all spiked out like this, as etc. etc. But honestly, it's a $100 figure. How many are you really going to buy? Just so you can play with all these little spikes and teeth and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe some of you are super rich and you want a whole army of these, but I just can't see too many people wanting to first spend the money to get a lot of these, and then second go through the hassle of decorating them individually. Like these are just not as fun as it to sound like on paper. It does cut a very impressive figure, of course, with that, especially that shield. I mean, these Ceratosaurus, they're known for their shield in the story, right? So obviously he's going to have a big shield. And this shield looks like it's like, what is that? Is that the head of a Triceratops? I don't know. Or is that the head of another Ceratosaurus? I don't know what that's supposed to be. Look like a might be a Triceratops. And then he got this big, I don't even know what's that. Cleaver? Is that a cleaver or an axe or a hatchet? I think that's a cleaver. And it's really big. Unfortunately, it's kind of loosey goosey in his hand. I have to wedge the back edge against his finger, probably scraping off some paint. Bring him closer. Here. I have to wedge that into his hand and wedge his finger behind the back blade for that to balance. Otherwise, it just hangs really loosely in his hand. Now he does come with alternate hand, but the alternate hand is too small, and so it's a kind of a frustrating situation. One grip is too loose, one grip is too tight. Like what the heck? Of course, I sound like I'm complaining a lot about this figure, but it is a good figure. I will not say it's a bad figure. It's a good figure, but it's frustrating. It's expensive, and it's not very blind friendly. Let me put it this way. Why do I say it's not blind friendly? Because blind people, when you're blind, you touch shit, right? Like for me to enjoy my figure, I need to be able to pose them, touch them, and take photos without worrying about things coming off as soon as I move them. But this guy and any of these dinosaur battlefield figure, it's like as soon as you start messing around with them, things start popping off. And then these things are very small and they roll when they hit the floor. So it's almost for sure you're going to lose some stuff. Now, I don't really mind if it's these little spikes that go missing and stuff like that. Like they're cool, but I don't really need them. But in the case of the peg for his shoulder pauldron, that was a little bit scary. I honestly thought I just ruined a figure because I wouldn't be able to install the pauldron. Uh, but as you guys can see, with the screw, it held perfect. I don't know if that looked weird. If you guys can see it, let me know if it's noticeable or not. Okay. Um, he looks a little bit more complete with the cape, right? Even though I prefer him without the cape, but without the cape, it kind of begs the question: how are those shoulder pauldrons staying on? Like, there's no strap or belt. Are they just glued to his shoulder, or what's going on here? So, if if you want to apply logic to it, it's a little bit wonky. But hey, he's a fantasy dinosaur. Maybe he just grows them out of his body. How's that? Anyway, um, it's one of those figures that's so complex that I can't really do a bite-sized toy review because there's just so much of him. But honestly, when it comes down to it, there's not a heck of a lot to say about him either because you can't really put him in any cool poses because most of the posing is going to be limited by all these lilala spikes and armor. Unless you want to keep him naked, then you can get him in some cool poses. I do want to mention one thing. I believe Anthony's Custom mentioned this as well. This tail, there's a little bit of a there's a little bit of up and down articulation in the tail. I don't understand why they would do this because it doesn't add to anything and it messes with the stability of the figure, especially if you want to use the tail as a tripod, right? If you want to use the tail to balance him. And with this tail, and it's a very loose up and down uh, movement, and it's not very big range of motion anyway. So honestly, I would rather they just not do that, not have that up and down motion, so the figure can stand way better. As it is, a lot of time he's going to start sagging backward. Luckily, the range of motion on that tail is very small, so it just changes his angle a little bit, but still make him look a little bit silly, like he's leaning back on his tail or something. In the end, I say it's an expensive figure. It looks cool. It just definitely displays really cool with Savage Crucible, Mythic Legions, and other animal figures, as we will see in a little bit in my final thoughts when we show the size comparison. He's pretty large. This guy is, I believe, like 8 inches tall, depending on how you measure him, really. But when you put the armor on him and his big shield and big cleaver, he definitely looks impressive. Like he's not quite as large as a Mythic Legion ogre, but he definitely looks like he would be able to give those ogre a really good fight. Now I'm going to give you guys the final size comparison photos and give you my final words. But for now, thank you for checking out this review. And we'll be back with more Johnny Tiger goodies in a little while. Meanwhile, if you want, check out my new blog, johnnytigerexperience.blogspot.com. Johnny Tiger Experience, all one word, all lower cap, at blogspot.com. Size-wise, this guy is that sweet spot between the Hulk and Colossus. He's pretty big. He will loom over your Mythic Legions and Savage Crucible guys, no problem, and even make Conan the Barbarian look pretty small. But he's a little bit smaller than a Mythic Legion Ogre figure, although with his full armor on, he definitely doesn't look like he's going to lose to them in a fight. Comparing to Bloodblade the T-Rex, he's tiny. Bloodblade is almost twice the size of this guy. Not in height, but in bulk, definitely. Um, Honestly, I really wish I can say that he's a really good figure. I mean, he's not bad. He's good to look at, but with the limited articulation, loose grip on the weapon, and the hard to pose due to the bones and all that stuff, he's just kind of middle of the road and a little bit higher in my opinion. I would say I would give him maybe a 7 out of 10. He's more the kind of guy that you put it together and then don't ever touch him again. Just leave him on the shelf and looking badass and scary. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for checking out today's review. I'll be back again later.